constituency. And during that interaction, Madam Speaker, proactively I expected that by now, the current 30 minutes water supply that our residents are rarely receiving would actually improve. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, due to the lack of water supply to the areas affected, the residents have been reporting to various clinics in the constituency that there's poor sanitation in the constituency, resulting in some of the waterborne diseases. Madam Speaker, is the Minister responsible for water in order not to resolve these challenges, despite the area member of parliament in the last 2 years reporting this problem consistently every time parliament opens? I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Member. I think you've clearly stated that you've brought this matter to this floor, and you were guided, and I'm sure there was even a ministerial statement that was given at some point. It would have been better for you maybe to bring that matter in another form. But I remember very well we dealt with that matter over and over again. So can we find another avenue of raising that matter? The Honorable Member for Kawambwa. Kaumbwe, sorry.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. The matter of urgent public importance I wish to raise is directed at the Minister of Defense and National Security. The Kaumbwe constituency shares a border with an informal border with Mozambique, which is almost 100 kilometers of informal border. And right now, there's a heavy presence of Mozambique Defense Forces manning the border between Mozambique and Zambia through Kaumbwe constituency. The issue, of course, is borders on security. We are concerned. We have no information as to why the heavy presence of Mozambique Defense Forces in heavy artillery is right at the border with the Kaumbwe constituency. And these soldiers, they don't speak English.
Honorable Member, without wasting much of your time, that problem or that matter is only peculiar to a small section of your community. I would urge you, order, honorable members, order. I'm making a ruling. The honorable member is advised to come up with an urgent question, rather than waiting for a ministerial statement, and that issue is only peculiar to your area. The honorable member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for allowing me to rise on this very important constitutional matter of urgent public importance. And in doing so, I would like to quote from the Republican Constitution. Madam Speaker, Article 2 of the Constitution says, and I quote, "Every person has the right and duty to b. resist or prevent a person from overthrowing, suspending, or illegally abrogating this Constitution." Madam Speaker, Article 252 says, and I quote, "Subject to this article, the Auditor General shall retire from subject to this article.
Honorable
the Auditor
member,
General shall retire from office on attaining the age of 60 years. Madam Speaker, yesterday, this Auditor General's report was tabled for honorable members of parliament to consider just yesterday.
What is your matter, honorable member?
This is where I'm going now.
Can you summarize? You are now
I've
debating
just
the
done
matter.
1 minute.
No, please, can you summarize
Yes, I'm
your
summarizing.
matter?
Madam Speaker, I am summarizing. This report was signed by Dr. Ron M. Mwambwa, Acting Auditor General. Dr. Ron M. Mwambwa is now 64 years old. He should have left office 4 years ago. Madam Speaker, my matter of urgent public importance is, this is the basis of the work of your PAC, the committee under your office. Dr. Ron Mwambwa is an illegal officer. Making this
Honorable
it's a
member,
constitution, Madam Speaker.
what is the matter of urgent public importance?
The matter is this, Madam Speaker. What is your assembly going to do, Madam Speaker, for PAC?
Order, honorable members.
For PAC to be able to do work in this session, since what we have before us is an illegal Auditor General's report. And I direct this, Madam Speaker, to our honor the Vice President as the leader of government business in the House. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. From the criteria that I explained, or the ways of raising these urgent matters of public importance, this might be very important, but it does not qualify to be amongst the matters of urgent public importance. Yes. What you can do, honorable member, can you raise? If it's in your own view, it's very important, you can use standing order number 76 so that that issue is attended to. You even be able to ask questions. The honorable member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I say my matter of urgent public importance, I want to convey my heartfelt condolences to Agnes Tumbe's family. She died some few hours ago. She was killed by an elephant in Chama, that is Mulumbu village. Madam Speaker, my matter of urgent public importance is directed to the Minister of Finance and National Planning. Yeah, Madam Speaker, there are no indications so far that the price of crude oil is going to come down on the international market because Russia and Saudi Arabia have extended the cut on production, meaning that the cost of petroleum products have continued to escalate on the international market. Madam Speaker, we are alive to the fact that ERB has been announcing monthly upwards, on average, adjustment.
Order, honorable member. From the way you've started and where you are heading to, that matter actually really is not a matter of urgent public importance according to the criteria laid down before you. Can you please find other avenues of bringing that matter to the House? The honorable member for Pambashe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I raise the matter, I need the guidance of the chair, whether we follow the criteria that is stated in the standing orders or as read by the chair. Because this House is regulated by the standing orders. There are steps for a matter to be admitted according to the standing orders of this parliament.
Order, honorable member, just go straight to your matter of urgent public importance.
I am raising the matter, Madam Speaker, on the Minister in charge of Internal Security and Home Affairs. Madam Speaker, Zambia woke up to a very rude shock that 2 people in Mwembeshi constituency were burnt to ashes. And this began with Mumbwa, now it is in Mwembeshi.
tomorrow, Madam Speaker, we may not know where this may happen. Is the minister responsible for my security internally in order to remain quiet, Madam Speaker, when citizens of this country that began with Mumbwa now in Mwembeshi are taking the law in their own hands by burning and killing suspected individuals who may be innocent citizens? The Mwembeshi constituents are mourning. 2 of their people were killed and burnt to ashes. I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker.
The Minister of Home Affairs, would you want to come back at a later day or now?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you may recall that 2 weeks ago, you gave me permission to issue a statement on the floor of this House pertaining to a similar incident. And I did inform members of the public that they should not take the law in their own hands. And Madam Speaker, because of us not condoning illegality, a number of people in Mumbwa were arrested and jailed for taking the law in their own hands. In the similar vein, we condemn the action of the people in Shibuyunji. We do not condone anyone taking the law in their own hands. It's not unusual, Madam Speaker, to find that innocent victims have found themselves in such a situation. And I will call upon members of the public, if they are suspecting that criminality has occurred, to report the matter to the police. We are investigating the matter, Madam Speaker. We will be informing the nation in due course over what transpired yesterday in Shibunji.
I'm sure it's loud and clear that the minister will inform the nation in due course. I'll take the last 2, Iteshteji and Mukaika. The honorable member for Iteshteji. He has changed his mind.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My matter of urgent public importance is directed at the Minister of Education. Over the weekend, Madam Speaker, at Rusangu Secondary School, 2 boarding spaces for the boys, they caught fire, and about 67 children, they lost all their properties. Rusangu Secondary School, Madam Speaker, it has a population of over 2,000 learners.
Order, I haven't given the ruling. Order, honorable member on the floor, what is your matter of urgent public importance? Can you summarize what is your matter of urgent public importance?
So, Madam Speaker, Rusangu Secondary School has a population of over 2,000 children from across the entire country. These children, they lost their entire properties, and the 2 boarding spaces at the moment, they are not habitable. The parents.
What is the matter, honorable
So the parents,
member?
Madam Speaker, they are asking whether these children are going to be compensated, and also how we are going to abate similar accidents in the schools. I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. As far as I'm concerned, this matter was attended to by the Minister of Education and the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, the owner of the constituency where the incidents took place. The main reason why we bring these matters to the House, we want the government to do something. So in this case, I think something was done by the Minister of Education and Home Affairs. So it doesn't qualify. The last member is the honorable member for Mukaika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My urgent public importance is direct to the Minister of Commerce and Trade and Industry.
The Minister of
Commerce and Trade. Madam Speaker, in Katete, there was a construction of a fruit processing plant, which is complete.
what we are waiting is just commissioning by the government. But now the company that was employed to offer security services had withdrawn their services. That company was constructed using public funds, Madam Speaker, and that if the situation is left like this, that means there will be vandalism on the company before it is commissioned. My matter is to seek government intervention on why they have withdrawn the security services before the company is commissioned. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Member, again, this does not qualify as an urgent matter of public importance. It is important. Therefore, you can use another avenue to bring that matter to the House. Because you have even got a lot of follow-up questions. Please find another avenue of bringing the matter back to this House. We make progress. Questions for oral answer, understanding order number 76. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 58.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, the Member of Parliament from Mulobezi, Mr. Mabenga, asks the Minister of Education, A, whether the government is aware that the 71 teachers that were transferred from 58 schools in Mulobezi district to other districts have not been replaced, leading to a shortage of teachers in the affected schools and thereby negatively affecting the learners. B, if so, what urgent measures are being taken to replace the teachers at A, and C, whether the government is aware that the transferred teachers at A are still on the payroll of their former schools in Mulobezi district, and D, if so, when the teachers will be removed from the payroll under Mulobezi district. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that A, the government is aware that 71 teachers were transferred from 58 schools in Mulobezi to other districts as far back as 2016. In addition, the government is also aware that 32 teachers were working in Mulobezi district but sitting on payrolls of other districts. The House may note that the transfers were occasioned by several factors, such as the need to unite with families and also on medical grounds. And B, in 2022, the government commenced the process of resolving the payroll mismatch across the country to ensure that each school has sufficient teachers to offer quality education and were aligned with the establishment. In this regard, in the 2022 net teacher recruitment exercise, the ministry allocated 223 teachers to Mulobezi district to address the shortage occasioned by the transfers of 71 teachers to other districts, as well as to improve the quality of education. Additionally, in the ongoing 2023 net teacher recruitment exercise, Mulobezi district will receive more teachers to improve teacher-pupil ratio. C, the ministry is aware that 71 teachers transferred from Mulobezi district are still sitting on their former school's payroll, and vice versa. D, the government has already commenced the process of realigning payroll stations for teachers who are working in districts that are different from their payroll stations. It is expected that, specifically for Mulobezi district, the matter will be resolved before the close of 2023. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, when are these transfers going to stop? Because last week we were talking about 71. As I'm speaking today, the document I have, we have got 78 teachers missing from Mulobezi. When are we going to stop this activity of transferring teachers without replacement? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
You will recall that these incidents started in 2016. And actually, if you're talking about this 71, one would argue that the 223 could have covered up these teachers. And as I said, sometimes it is occasioned by medical problems, and sometimes it's about reuniting couples. But I must state that if you still recall, Member of Parliament, it was this 71 didn't occur last week. It has been a cumulative issue over maybe 6 years. So to realign this, it takes a lot of time. And as I said, 32 teachers are also in Mulobezi who are sitting on other payrolls. So it was a problem which we are trying now to amend, to, to correct. Yeah. But you cannot stop transfers just like that. But we're encouraging teachers, if you apply somewhere in a rural area, you stay there. And the condition is that you stay for 4 years, unless there are other exigencies which are occurring for one to be moved from one place to the other. These are medical grounds and joining the couple. So we will not entirely stop transfers because they occur. And sometimes people get used to one place for a long time and they don't even work. So such things will happen. But what was wrong was one-ton transfers and without realigning to the payroll. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I just want to find out from the Minister, what is the policy on the transfers of teachers? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
As you've just explained, Madam. You want me to repeat?
Yes. Please just repeat yourself.
I thought we are not allowed tedious repetition. No. But, yeah. What I said is as follows. Not quoting myself, but I'll try and say what I said. I said that teachers can be transferred. First, if it is on medical ground and rejoining a couple. Secondly, if a teacher has stayed for a long time at one station, they can be transferred because sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. And we have seen all these. Some of the teachers, this is why you saw many teachers. That other teacher where there was Chipapira. I think he stayed a lot there. So he became familiar to that place. So they are transferred. Also, and this is now a clear and call to say that if you have applied to go and work in Mulobezi, work in Mulobezi. If you have applied to go and work in Shangombo, work in Shangombo. If you have applied to go and work in Mitete, work in Mitete. And we have a condition, Madam Speaker, to say that when you go there, you work for 4 years, unless there are two of these issues that I have mentioned, of medical grounds and couples rejoining. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Gwembe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, we appreciate the answers that you have given us. However, Honorable Minister, this is not peculiar to Mulobezi. I think it's endemic to many other constituents. And as a result, Honorable Minister, it is happening in so many constituencies. Teachers are transferred, especially the rural constituencies or rural districts. They are transferred, they go to urban areas. And these in the rural areas, the spaces are left. Where they have gone, they still maintain rural hardship allowances. At the same time, the districts disadvantaged when recruitment comes, because it is showing that the teachers are still in that district when they have been transferred. As if that is not enough, Honorable Minister.
What is your question, Honorable
My question
Member?
is it possible that, Honorable Minister, we can do a comprehensive investigation so that we don't have abrogation of your policy of 4 years? Because those that were appointed last year, in Gwembe, 15 of them, they've gone. Where? Because the policy says they must be there for 4 years. Why are we allowing our civil servants to abrogate our own policies with impunity?
The Honorable Minister of Education.
At the expense of repeating myself, I said that this problem, yes, is big because it started in 2016 and it is widespread, the whole country. What we have done is that once a person is transferred, they don't go with their ID permit this time around. We have cut on that. So a person who is transferred, if you're transferred from Gwembe to go to Mazabuka, you will not carry the Gwembe permit ID. And I think for that way we'll manage. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Minister, thank you for the reasons you have given for transfers, which I agree with you. Minister, my question is it possible, or why is it so difficult that we can't employ the local qualified teachers in the rural areas? Yes, I understand those in towns, they can switch from Lusaka to Kafue, but it's difficult to switch from Lusaka to Mlowezi. And why is it difficult that we can't just employ? First, we deal with the local qualified teachers before you start giving us rural district teachers from the urban areas, so that we minimize this problem. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Yes. It is desirable to employ those who are local. But again, sometimes how do you define local? If in Nyimba there are so many vacancies, and then the local are 4. So we give you 4. Eh? So let me just tell you one thing. This thing, we try to run how we can manage it. Because when you say local, we are talking about where there are vacancies. The local might not be sufficient enough to fill the vacancies. So what we are doing is that we are now advertising. Anybody can apply anywhere. But it is desirable to get people who are within that vicinity. Otherwise, everybody will be saying that I want to employ just this. Then you defeat the purpose of one Zambia, one nation. But I think over the years we were tuned to do things which are wrong. This is why you have this chaos. So we are now trying to manage it. You know how to manage chaos. So that's what we are doing. Thank you.
I'll get to the last two, the Honorable Member for Mwandi and the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu. In that order, the Honorable Member for Mwandi.
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your answer, you've indicated that there are 32 teachers in Mlowezi that are actually also getting salaries from other districts. I wanted to find out from you, this has been a challenge where, like in my concerns, I've realized that there are schools that have been running for a very long time without having the full establishment. So in regards to this school, is that one of the challenges that is causing teachers being in another district and getting a salary in another district? If that is the case, what is it that the ministry is going to do to making sure that schools that have been running for a long time without establishments are fully established? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
I agree with her.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, it seems this problem emanates from the point of recruitment. And the rider to the question posed, although you have just said you admit, is very critical. How, Minister, these establishments is what gives authority to the pay points. I mean, pay points that our teachers use sometimes get affected by those that move from their designated schools, go to other schools, and yet are getting the pay slot for the school they could have abandoned in the rural area. And therefore, it's very difficult to get teachers to those schools. So the question the honorable member was asking is, what are you doing to avoid, to ensure that you have got a system that should be able to trigger those positions vacant immediately someone's moved? I think that was the gist of the question. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, this is why I agreed with her, because first of all, she explained on what we should do. And then I agreed. Full establishment of those schools. That's what she said. So unless you want really to hear I've said full establishment, what? Because agreeing is agreeing. Isn't it?
Maybe, Honorable Minister, for the sake of the listeners, I think try to explain, for example, what you agreed to, so that the people are with you.
What we are agreeing with, Madam Speaker, as I said, government commenced the process of realigning the payroll points and also trying to do full establishments of those schools which do not have full establishments. As I said, the chaos started a long time ago, and I'm trying to manage this chaos, a humongous one for that matter.
We make progress. Questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. The Honorable Member for Mukushi North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 59.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Mkushi, Honorable Chibuye, is asking the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development the following questions. A, whether government has any plans to upgrade Mukushi, Musofu, Mundawanga Road in Mukushi district to bituminous standard. B, if so, what mode of finance will be used for the project? C, when the project will be implemented? And the D, if there are no such plans, why? We answer as follows, Madam Speaker. A, government will consider upgrading to bituminous standard the Mkushi, Musofu, Mundawanga Road in Mkushi district once Treasury secures the required funds. B, any favorable mode of financing the project will be considered in future work plans. C, the project will be considered for implementation once Treasury secures the required funds. D, as indicated at C, government will implement the project once funds are secured. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Mukushi North, do you have a question?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I have the question. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for the response, and we appreciate those responses. My follow-up question would be, you have stated that you consider upgrading the road when Treasury, I think, authority is granted to your ministry. When do you think this Treasury authority could be granted to the ministry to indeed consider upgrading of this road?
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, let me first of all explain to the House that this road in question was recently rehabilitated to all-weather gravel standard with the support of the World Bank under the Improved Road Connectivity Project, or IRCP. And As is the case with this project, the project is currently in the maintenance stage until October 2024. We normally give a 3-year maintenance program. This road, the stretch is approximately 92.5 kilometers and serving as a shorter route connecting Mkushi district in Central Province to the Copperbelt Province at Tagagan Barracks. The contractor engaged for the roadworks is Sino Hydro Zambia Limited at a contract sum of 144,307,981 kwacha 66 ngwe. So far, the contractor has been paid 99 million, almost 400,000 for the works done. The reason I've gone into those details, Madam Speaker, is to show that whereas there is need ultimately to upgrade it to bituminous standard, but in terms of the quality of work that we are able to achieve on the improved road connectivity, is a clear indication that at the moment our populations in and around those areas are able to use that road. The ones that I've inspected, Madam Speaker, under IRCP, is that people can achieve speeds of 100 kilometers an hour and so on. And with this 3-year maintenance, it means the road is maintained in a very good state. So, his follow-up question was, when are funds going to be made available? This will be dependent upon allocations into this budget, in the next budget, and the next budget. But suffice to say, the rehabilitated roads under IRCP is sufficient for our populations to use the road. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mukushi North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And it is indeed from the explanation that the Minister has given that, yes, indeed, this road has been worked on through the rural connectivity. And it is from this background, Madam Speaker, that we have seen now the increase in traffic along that road. It is from this background that even people that are coming from TZ or Tanzania, they are using that shorter route to the Copper Belt. So my question therefore would be, Minister, don't you see the road not having the lifespan in the gravel state as it may be, with that increased lifespan, I mean with that increased traffic on that road? Now, the consideration of it being graded to bituminous would actually give enough lifespan on it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and I thank my honorable colleague. Yes, ultimately, all things being equal, Madam Speaker, it is preferable to have bituminous standard roads, especially when they are busy. It's a question of resources availability. What I can assure the honorable member from Kush North is that the roads maintained or rehabilitated under IRCP, that is why we have incorporated in the project a 3-year maintenance period during which the road is maintained at very high quality as it was originally rehabilitated. On this particular road, the maintenance by the contractor will continue until October 2024, and thereafter the maintenance is taken over by RDA. However, should traffic continue and the deterioration of the road qualifies it for upgrade, that will be considered in future work plans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kafue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was listening with a lot of interest to the responses. And in the responses, the minister did say that when funds are available in one of these budgets, they may consider upgrading to bituminous standard. So I wanted to find out from the minister if he does have an allocation in the 2024 budget for upgrading of roads to bituminous standards so that it may give some hope to the people of Mukushi North and indeed the people of Shantumbu in Kafue as to whether government will be working on some bituminous standard roads. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for Kafue. I think we have just started the budget session. We cannot really, from the government point of view, make pronouncements or conclusive pronouncements on the budget whilst it is before this House. Separation of powers, Madam Speaker, demands that we allow this House to deliberate, and at the end, when the budget is passed, that's when we can make conclusive remarks as to what is in there or what is not in there. What the Honourable Minister announced before the House, and it's contained in the Yellow Book that we all have, is but a proposal from the Executive to the Legislature. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next question, the Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 60.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. Order, Honorable Members.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Mr. Chinkuli, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kanyama, is asking the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development at A, whether government has any plans to introduce equitable allocation of constituent development fund in each constituency. If so, when these plans will be implemented, and at C, if there are no such plans, he wants to know why. Madam, in response to the question raised by Honorable Member of Parliament for Kanyama, Mr. Chinkuli, I wish to inform the August House as follows. Indeed, government has plans to introduce equitable allocation of the Constituents Development Fund in each constituency. However, this will require an extensive stakeholder consultation and engagement and develop a formula for this type of allocation to ensure what his desire is, that is the equitable distribution of these resources. At B, the plans will be implemented once all the consultative processes that I've just mentioned at A above will be done and undertaken, and then we'll be concluding. At C, the plans to review the allocation of the CDF are indeed there. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Questions? The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and Minister, thank you for your response. It's so saddening to hear that the date through which this can be actualized is not actually mentioned. The point that we may talk about maybe next year, the other year or so. But now we are looking at, when you look at equity, we are looking at something that encompasses fairness. And if you may wish to take note that Kanyama houses, the largest operation in Zambia. The point that if you look at the way grants or loans are distributed, you realize that for Kanyama people, all of them to receive, it will need for another 3-4 years, which may not be fair. We want to look at a situation where we are treating people so much that the outcome of whatever resources that are given should be equal. And
What is the question, Honorable Member?
I'm trying to build
Yes,
the question.
let's avoid debating the question.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you. Where we are talking about, not leaving anyone behind. And if we go through this, on this trajectory, are we not going against that concept of not leaving anyone behind? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam, thank you very much, and thank you, Honorable Member and colleague. This idea has been entertained before in this Parliament and for a very long time, Madam Speaker. The issues that it introduces are the issues that are answered at A above, where we said we must find a formula within which we can find what is deemed to be equitable. In his follow-up question, the colleague brings in a different issue of equality. The two are fundamentally different. Equity is generally associated with shareholding in a company or a fair distribution of resource, whereas equality means something totally different. In my answer, I said that we require an extensive consultative engagement with all stakeholders in order to arrive at an equitable method of distributing wealth under the Constituency Development Fund. The time when we attempted to do this, Madam Speaker, I was in this Parliament, and I do recall that we were confronted with the issue of who is ahead and who is behind in terms of development. Some argued that the rural areas are behind and the urban areas are ahead simply because urban areas have got concrete jungles. And others argued, Madam Speaker, that in urban areas there's high levels of squalor. And the quality of people in urban areas is so far much below the quality of people who live in the rural areas. Just that argument alone sort of jammed us. We couldn't move any further than that, because the truth of the matter is that it is arguable, it is debatable to say whether or not people who live in town here live a better life than those who live in the rural areas. I think to address this, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, in his wisdom, decided that in the decentralization agenda, he was going to cascade money which was sitting in the central government to the district and sub-district levels in order for the people themselves to identify their development trajectory. That alone, if you can imagine, Madam Speaker, coming from 1.6 million kwacha to 30.6 million kwacha per annum per constituency, I think is reason enough for us to be settled that wealth is being distributed in a manner that is close to equity.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chirubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Minister of Finance, in his address to this House during the 2023 budget address, just after I mentioned that 75% of the money for CDF has been released, the sentence that followed thereafter, if I remember vividly, he said that the 2024 budget is going to have consideration based on equity formula, where the rural areas and urban areas will be separated in terms of their locations. I think if our Labour team can apply, that statement is still there. Given that background, Madam Speaker, I want to ask the Minister whether, since he has staggered the dates and he has not stipulated when that would be done, the Minister was specific. Could it be that the Minister was praying to the gallery
when he said that in his budget speech?
Honorable member, I think let's not mix the two, because we are going to have a debate on the budget speech that was given by the Honorable Minister. At this moment, we are looking at the question before us for Kanyama constituency. If we can just link that so that we don't go off the question. I don't know, the Honorable Minister, whether you can attempt.
Equal to the task. Madam, the word equity, it describes fairness of distribution, full stop. And so when the minister said we are going as much as possible, try to get to an equitable distribution of wealth, that's what it means. It means one and the same thing. In my maiden answer, I was very clear that we are looking at a formula. We are looking for a way and means of arriving at what we all desire to have, looking at all the indices, all the variables to determine whether our own definition suggests that Lusaka is more developed than Magoya, where I come from, simply because there's this parliament here. It does not necessarily mean that if you're in a rural area, you are underdeveloped. No, come to my farm. I live in a rural area, sir, where I live just now, where I wake up from. Come there and see. And you will see that sometimes it's not worthy to live in town. And I'm just trying to help the MP, Madam Speaker. Me and Honorable Nixon Chilangwa, we live in a rural area. We are neighbors. And we deliberately moved from the squalor of town in Chilanga. And therefore, when the word equity is used, we should not confuse it with the dichotomy of which area is more developed than the other. No. Thank you very much.
I'll get the last two, the Honorable Member for Chama North and the Honorable Member for Lukasha. In that order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for that response. It's good that you have plans to distribute fair distribution of CDF. I'm alive to the fact that, Honorable Minister, that, for example, the rural and urban constituencies, in terms of skills and empowerment programs, the urban constituencies needs more money than the rural ones. But on the other side, you find that for infrastructure, the rural needs more money than the urban constituencies. So which are the specific areas you are looking at? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
This conversation, Madam, is encouraged to continue happening. Let's take Chama, for instance, where the colleague who asked me the question comes from, and Mazabuka, where I come from. It is the same people, they are Zambians, requiring the same levels of development. And so, the reason why the president of this Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hichilema, decided that he was going to inflate the figure on the Constituency Development Fund and let it be administered by you yourselves. And I'm sure you saw the circular that I circulated last night that, that expunged the older circular about commissioning of projects, is that you yourself and your constituents are going to be part and parcel of deciding what you deem to be priority in your area, that which works for you. That alone, I think the president did us a favor. Because if we look at the near past, really we were sharing nothing. And can you imagine, Honorable Member friend, Mr. Mutachalo, if this 30.6 million kwacha was being distributed just in the last 5 years, what Zambia would be looking like today? So there is order. There is also, you know, there is honor in appreciation of what a government is trying to do to achieve for the people whose interests and aspirations they intend to serve. And I think we are on the right path. Whether you like it or not, it was in this August House, Madam Speaker, where when Mr. Musoko Twane, the Minister of Finance, announced the first increase of the CDF, that people who are here in this house said that the councils have no capacity to administer this fund. They didn't want the money. And therefore you ask yourself a question. If you are in that same state of mind, will you then stand on your campaign platform and say, we don't want the CDF to be 30.6, we want it to go back to 1.6? Something will think something's cockeye around your thinking. Cockeye is an English word. Check it in the dictionary. I beg to move.
The Honorable Member for Lukasha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Actually, my question is quite related to the last statement that has been made by the Minister. Minister, the utilization of these funds would supposed to go hand in hand with capacity. I want to find out what government is doing to improve the capacity of local authorities to administer this increasing CDF. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam, once again. And let me confirm here and declare an interest that such type of questions are the questions that we need in this House. Progressive questions. Madam, I'll give a living example of how we want to capacitate, how we have been desirous of capacitating the councils. We decided deliberately that we are going to strengthen our audit systems, Honorable Member of Parliament for Lukasha, and the examples are there for you to see. And I'll take a living example. We decided to audit Solwezi Municipal Council. This is a council that is predominantly ruling party represented, right? Because we saw that there were some challenges in there, in the operations of the CDF. And I want you to understand that maybe
Honorable Minister, there's an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Chirubi, what is your point of order?
My point of order, Madam Speaker, is in line with Standing Order 206. The Minister who is on the floor is in order, because I'm trying to figure out whether the suit he's wearing is for which security company. Because the description that is in 206, if you read, Madam Speaker, does not fit what the minister is wearing. So I don't know if the minister is in order to.
The Honorable Member for Chirubi, I don't know whether you're talking about the color. As far as I'm concerned, when you look at the dress code for members of parliament, it says a formal executive suit, a pair of long trousers, a shirt, a necktie and jacket, a toga, a decent traditional attire, a safari suit with long and short sleeves and a scarf or a tie, a necktie. So, honorable members, as far as I'm concerned, what the minister is putting on matches with the criteria which is here. Unless if I'm not seeing properly. Let's make progress.
Thank you very much, Madam. At least the colleague has managed to put a smile on everyone's face. I can confirm that what I'm wearing is a cotton attire. And I've seen other members on your left-hand side, Madam, wearing metal attires. It has been very common, but let's take that as a light moment. Thank you. I was in the process of explaining and finishing the fact that we set out to audit all local authorities, and we began with Solwezi Municipal Council. We are moving on to a lot of councils, and maybe to take advantage of me holding this floor, that part of the challenges that we've had in terms of capacity has been that of interference of political office holders in the disbursement application of a constituency development fund. I have had visits from the Anti-Corruption Commission, Madam Speaker, where whistleblowers have gone to state that some MPs, some elected officials are beneficiaries of contracts in this CDF. So allow me to just send a message that as a member of parliament, it is your duty to make sure that your council operates above board. It will not do for you as a member of parliament to arm twist the officers in the council to award you or your kinsmen contracts and take advantage of this fund, because this fund is meant for definite specific purposes. And so as the audit continues, Honorable Member of Parliament for Lukasha, I can assure you that the capacity that you may seem to agree to exist in central government will start showing in the local government. We are trying to get professional people to work in the designated offices, and without saying too much, I can also confirm in no uncertain terms, honorable brother and friend, that we found a lot of incompetent people in the councils who were employed based on patronage, creed, you can question that, and we have given most of these people a chance to upgrade their academic qualifications, and some are outright, for exit. We have removed those who are not competent, and we are trying our best to making sure that the people who are holding office, especially in procurement, we've had a problem. This minister here has not been shy to say, I am certain that there's corruption in councils. I said this on this floor of this house. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm the one who presides over councils, and we found endemic corruption, glaring corruption in the councils. And we have decided to tell our colleagues we are giving a chance to reform, and soon the ACC are going to pounce on you, and no one is going to come and redeem you. So we are on our way to capacitating our councils, Honorable Member.
Thank you. We had closed. We make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Milengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 61.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Honorable Member for Milenge, Honorable Mr. Chonde is asking the Ministry, question A, whether government has any plans to construct bridges at the following crossing points on the Chiswishi River in Milenge Parliamentary Constituency. That's 1, Chabukavaushi, 2, Mulumbi, and 3, Mulungushi. Question B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. Question C, what the estimated cost of each project is, and the D, what the time frame for the completion of each project is. We answer as follows. To question A, the government has plans to construct bridges at Chabukavaushi, Mulumbi, and the Mulungushi crossing points across the Chiswishi River in Milenge Parliamentary Constituency. B, the plans will be implemented once Treasury secures the required funds for the project. C, the estimated cost of constructing the Chabukavaushi Bridge is 1,232,419 kwacha etengwe, while the estimated cost of constructing Mulungushi Bridge is 7 million kwacha. The estimated cost of constructing the Mulumbi crossing point will be known after an assessment is done in the fourth quarter of 2023. D, the time frame for the execution of Chabukavaushi and Mulungushi crossing points is estimated as 6 months from the time of commencement. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Milengi.
Minister, thank you very much for your answers. And clearly, you need to visit the areas because I think the information is not accurate. The Chavukavaushi bridge is quite a huge one, and I don't think so 1 million is sufficient. Now, we do appreciate the lengthy process at which we must undergo in order for us to have these crossing points done. Do you have immediate measures knowing that the rain season is around the corner? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I ask the Honorable Member for Milenge to engage with RDA, with the ministry, a lot more closely, because already is bringing some issues on Jabukabaushi, but the estimate that we have is not accurate. Matters such as this can easily be resolved by closer attention and engagement. But the Chabukabaushi crossing point was included in the program for critical drainage structures under the Road Development Agency. And this will be constructed as soon as the funds are secured. And in view of the point that he has raised, I ask that he contacts both RDA and the ministry to ensure that the estimate is accurate. Now, with respect to Mulumbi Crossing, which was part of the Accra Bridge construction program, which was contracted at 25,073,060 kwacha. This was terminated due to lack of funds. The third bridge, still on the Mulumbi Bridge, which will be constructed now using the force account, and an assessment for the required works using force account will be undertaken in the fourth quarter of 2023. And Madam Speaker, since this is an Accra bridge, I wish to advise the Honourable Member that in other constituencies, we have worked together with the constituency using part funding from CDF to construct some of these bridges. Examples are in Kanchivia, Zambezi West, and so on. So maybe the Honourable Member can engage on this one and see if we could share the costs and have the bridge installed at a faster rate. The assessment on the Mulungushi crossing were conducted. However, the works could not take off as the amount advance was too small to do any meaningful work on the bridge works. And for the Chabukabaushi and the Mulungushi bridges, subject to revision in view of the passage of time, since the surveys were conducted in 2019. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Milenge.
Clearly, your answers have raised quite a lot of, to avoid protracted discussion on the same matter. Minister, the issue in discussion here is intervention measure because there's perpetual disruption of social services in these areas affected. Do you have any measure that we can rely on, knowing for sure that the rain season is around the corner? Thank you.
Almost the same question. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I can assure the Honourable Member for Milenge that it is not the desire of this new dawn government to see people inconvenienced. And that is why I have stated on the floor of this House that if there is any member who is aware of a site that will cause certain sections of our population to be cut off, those must be reported so that the urgent work can be done. If he's of the view that there will be certain sections cut off, again, that qualifies and can be looked at from that perspective. Also to assure him that the size of this country is such that there are many, many, many places which are affected as much as the sites that he has brought to our attention. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Bahati.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Chawukaba-Ushi is a very important crossing point for us, the Ushi people. This is a bridge, Madam Speaker, which our ancestors used way back in 1703 when they crossed from the Congo into Zambia. Minister, you've got quite a number of acro bridges that are just lying idle by RDA officers. Are you able to give us just one or two acro bridges for the Chawukaba-Ushi and the other bridges in Milenge? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
No. I could have just answered with a no and sit down, but the Honourable Member for Bahati, I think, deserves a longer. Those bridges, Madam Speaker, the 131 acro bridges, are site-specific. In other words, certain sites were identified, measured, and those measurements were then taken to America, and each site had a specific bridge constructed or manufactured for it. So it's not possible to move a bridge that you see. All those bridges that you see are specific to certain sites, and you cannot move them from one site to the other. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We make progress. Next question. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 62.
The Honorable Minister of Health. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central, Honorable Miyutu, asks the following question to the Minister of Health. A, whether the government distributed any mosquito nets in Kalabo district in 2022. B, if so, how many nets were distributed? C, how many are estimated for distribution in 2023? And D, what long-term measures are being taken to eradicate malaria? Madam Speaker, the following is our response. Under A, whether the government distributed any mosquito nets in Kalabo district in 2022. Madam Speaker, government distributed insecticide-treated mosquito nets in Kalabo district through routine channels to the under 5 children and pregnant women through under 5 and antenatal clinics respectively. Under B, if so, how many nets were distributed? Madam Speaker, a total of 15,000 mosquito nets were distributed to the under 5 children and pregnant women as tabulated below. 1, 7,729 mosquito nets to pregnant women through antenatal clinic, and 2, 7,271 mosquito nets to under 5 children through under 5 clinics. Under C, Madam Speaker, how many are estimated for distribution in 2023? We are saying government through the Ministry of Health and with the support from partners intend to distribute in 2023 a total of 81,742 mosquito nets to all the people in Kalabo district through the 2023 mass distribution campaign. Additional 15,596 mosquito nets will be distributed through routine channels of under 5 and antenatal clinics. Under D, Madam Speaker, we are saying the long-term measures that are being taken to eradicate malaria are as follows. 1, distribution of 11.5 million mosquito nets to all the people in Zambia, complemented by the routine under 5 and antenatal clinics, and continuous school and community distribution. 2, indoor residue spraying of all eligible structures in the targeted districts. This year we are targeting 900,000 structures. 3, larvae source management, which targets the aquatic stages of the mosquito. 4, prompt diagnosis and treatment of all people with malaria, which not only saves lives but also helps to reduce transmission by clearing the parasites in our communities. 5, mass drug administration in the eligible catchment, where all eligible people are given malaria medicines in order to clear the malaria parasites from their bodies. 6, low malaria transmission settings, malaria case investigations where any person who tests malaria positive is followed to where they come from and responsive vector control is conducted and treatment given to all asthmatic, not showing any sign and symptoms people. The House may wish to know that all the above interventions are coupled with social behavioral change, messaging to increase uptake and use of interventions. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For clarity, I've heard of mass distribution. Does that mass distribution include school-going children or students, especially those who are in boarding schools? Because previously, only the under 5 and the antenatal mothers used to receive these nets. So in the awaited mass distribution, is it going to include students who are in secondary schools? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Health.
I would like to answer in the affirmative. Yes, the 11.5 million mosquito nets mass distribution is meant for the whole population, not excluding schools, but with the distribution points being also through clinics and antenatal clinics. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For final affirmation from the Minister, it is being circulated in that district that for 2023, there won't be the normal, usual residential spraying program. And want to get it from the Minister. Is it true that 2023, there won't be that exercise of spraying residences? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Absolutely not, Madam Speaker. The malaria campaign and malaria campaign includes, in fact, if anything, one of its major area of attack is the mass spraying of structures. And I've mentioned here that it will be there. So be rest assured, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kalabo Central, that in 2023, like any other year, the structures will be sprayed. They will be spraying as well. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Namwala.
Thank you so very much, Madam. Through you to the Minister. Minister, may I know
the total costs of the intended number of mosquito nets you need to, or you intend to supply to Kalabo district alone, the total cost of the estimated number of nets that you want to supply to Kalabo constituency, I submit.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that question. Unfortunately, I do not have the total cost here because it was not part and parcel of the question. If you don't mind, we can give you the total cost later as we chat. Otherwise, I do not have the numbers here. Sorry. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bahati.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at D, the person who asked this question is asking the Minister what long-term measures are being taken to eradicate malaria. And the Minister, in his response, said procurement of mosquitoes, which to me, Madam Speaker, procurement mosquito nets is a preventive measure. It's not something we can use to completely eradicate malaria. It's good that you also, Minister, talked about indoor residue spray, which is a good measure. But I want to find out from you, is your government considering aerial sprays? Aerial spray is effective, cheaper, and is an efficient way of controlling, mosquitoes from its breeding sites. Kalabo has got so many marshlands, just like so many areas in Wapula province, including Bahati constituency, where have so many wetlands. And aerial sprays is quite effective, especially if you consider using drones to, spray mosquito insecticides. So is your ministry considering, using drones to do aerial sprays? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament, for that very, very important question. I think it's an option that the ministry will sit down to consider because of those advantages that you have just outlined. Come again?
No, you don't have
can't
to.
Get you.
Honorable Minister, you may continue.
He's speaking to himself, but anyway, I'm saying, Honorable Madam Speaker, that is an option that the ministry will consider given the advantages that you have just outlined. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The last member is the Honorable Member for Sinazongwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, as members of Parliament, we do appreciate the efforts that you are making in trying to eradicate malaria. Among other things, the distribution of the mosquito nets. Now, what I wanted to find out from you, Honorable Minister, is whether your ministry is aware that these mosquito nets you distribute with a view of eradicating malaria, they find themselves being used in other activities such as fish catching. And if you are aware, what steps are you taking trying to seeing to it that at least these mosquito nets are used for the intended purpose that you distribute them for, instead of these mosquito nets finding themselves in the lakes and the rivers like in Karabo? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thanks very much, Honorable Member. This is a complex issue, and I think it needs concerted efforts, not excluding the efforts of the members of Parliament and community leaders, the chiefs, evangelists, etc., etc. So this, I think, is supposed to be taken by all of us who are responsible in the community. But suffice to say, on the part of the Ministry of Health, as we distribute these nets, we try by all means to sensitize the recipients of these nets, that these nets are not there to fish out the small fish and fill our stomachs, but essentially to prevent malaria. And so we do our part in terms of sensitization, but I think we should do a bit more by incorporating community leaders, have sensitization campaign workshops so that the message goes out there to each and every citizen that gets these nets, because we realize that whereas we are preventing malaria, we are also creating another problem, that is of depleting our fish stocks. So I implore the Honorable Member of Parliament from Kalabo and from everywhere else to take up this responsibility as well, to sensitize the recipients of these mosquito nets. I would like to thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We make progress. Next question. The Honorable Member for Milanzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 63.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much once again, Madam Speaker. Ms. Melisiana Piri, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Milanzi, is asking the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development at A, why the rehabilitation of Kafumbwe Kalimeta Road in Milanzi parliamentary constituency has stalled. At B, she wishes to also know when the project will resume. At C, she wants to know when the feeder roads will be rehabilitated. These feeder roads will be rehabilitated: Kawaza, Chisindiko, and Dole Boma roads. Our response, Madam Speaker. I wish to inform the Honorable Member of Parliament for Milanzi through this August House that the rehabilitation of Kafumbwe Kalimeta Road in Milanzi parliamentary constituency stalled because the contract for the project expired and was not renewed as a result of budgetary constraints. At B, I wish to inform the MP that the road will be worked on once funds are made available. At C, the Kawaza, Chisindiko, and Bole Boma feeder roads will also be rehabilitated accordingly when the funds are available. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Milanzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thanks, Honorable Minister, for your response. Honorable Minister, these are key roads that our people use for transportation of goods and services. And these roads are in a poor state. The people of Milanzi would like to know when are the funds going to be made available for these roads.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Milanzi who sent her Honorable Melisiana Piri to Parliament are also our people. And we sympathize with the state of the roads in that parliamentary constituency. I would like to answer the question when the funds are going to be available by giving a small background information on the particular, say, D125 junction to Kalimeta School via Katiula to Kamfumbwe Road in Katete District. that this road that she asked about is 40 kilometers long. It had a contract sum, the contract which I indicated expired and was not renewed, of 41.5 million kwachas. The name of the contractor is A Plus Management Services, and they had done works to a percentum of 20% of the total 40-kilometer stretch. The contract expired as a result of time and also as a result of non-payment of these contracts when it was running. This company has a certificate of 11.1 million kwacha for this particular road, which represents about 20% progress. It is my desire, it is also my wish, that those who had signed these contracts should have actually found the money to pay this contractor so that he concludes work on this road. But unfortunately, as we have said before, we will say it again, that these roads, Madam Speaker, had been over-procured to the extent that when our citizens, these contractors, most of whom were members of PF, were given these contracts, they were given down payments, and then they stopped paying them. When we took over office, we found a total debt of 5.8 billion kwacha under an annual budget of only 300 million kwacha. This should tell you the whole story, the picture should be laid bare. And we are not magicians to have just manufactured money to repair these roads. And by the way, Katete is even a bit fortunate because there's 20% of road that was done. There are certain parts of the country, Madam Speaker, that 0 kilometer was done. They are in a worse state than Katete. But to comfort the colleague is that under the budget that is coming, some money has been put aside. It is really a question of giving priority to roads that are extremely bad, such as the road that is in, which was once called Musanzala. What is it called now? No. What is that constituency? Lusangazi constituency, where even the president, when he visited that area, he guided us that we must, as quickly as possible, move towards making these roads motorable. We are also desirous to doing this, so with the limited envelope, resource envelope that we have, we will see whether or not this is a matter that can be dealt with within the coming budget. Madam Speaker, I thank you very much.
The Honorable Member for Milanzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, are there any immediate measures that the government is putting in place to ensure that these roads are passable?
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Indeed, there are measures that we have put in place. And the measures that we have put in place from as far back as 1 year ago, it was this minister who stood on the floor of this house and indicated that the Minister of Finance had put aside money for emergencies vis-a-vis crossing points so that at least the roads are motorable. I can confirm to you that there are some members of parliament who have been frequenting my office. One of them is that one there in green, Honorable Mutaya Chalo, the Honorable member of Mulusangazi, as I've said, who are in the province where my sister is. They have come with a BOQ that address only those cut-off crossing points. So yes, madam, you have been to my office before. I haven't seen you in a long time. Please come around. Let's sit down together and see where we can meet one another at our greatest point of need.
Thank you. There is a friendly invitation, Honorable Member. The last one is the Honorable Member for Masaiti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, do you intend to continue with the same contractor since he did 20%, then the contract expired? So once funds are available, do you intend to continue with the same contractor? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much for that question, Madam Speaker. We have contracts in two categories. There are those that expired by time, and then there are those that were terminated, typically due to lack of budgetary provisions, as the case was in the past. Those that we terminated as a result of budgetary provisions have been given the first right of refusal when the money is available. Unfortunately, this A-plus contract is one of those that expired by time. So they do not enjoy the first right of refusal at the time when funds are available. But obviously, because we are a reasonable lot, we will look at the tendering process, which are backed by law, and we can invite Mr. A-plus to also take part in the tendering process. But obviously, they must enjoy the privilege of having worked on that road before, and so they can be considered. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 64.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Lundazi asks the question to the Minister of Health as follows. A, when the government will procure the following equipment in order to fully operationalize Old Lundazi District Hospital in Lundazi District. And items that are specific to the question is I1, beds and mattresses, 2, X-ray machines, and 3, laboratory equipment. Under B, what the cause of the delay in procuring the equipment is, and C, when additional doctors and other medical staff will be deployed to the hospital. Our response, Madam Speaker, to the Honourable Member of Parliament for Lundazi, under A, when the government will procure the following items: the beds and mattresses. The procurement process for hospital beds with mattresses was finalized in May 2023 by ZAMSA. The supplier delivered end of September 2023. Distribution preparations to all beneficiary public health facilities, including Old Lundazi District Hospital, are underway. Old Lundazi District Hospital has been allocated a quantity of 50 beds with mattresses. Under item 2, that is the X-ray machine, the procurement process for X-ray machines is underway. The tender was invited on 27th September 2023 and will close on 29th of October 2023. The expected delivery time is April 2024. And item number 3, that's laboratory equipment. Government intends to procure medical equipment through the Zambia Medicine Medical Supplies Agency, ZAMSA, in a phased approach starting 2024 for all public health facilities countrywide, and health facilities in Lundazi District are expected to benefit from this government initiative. Under B, Madam Speaker, the delay in the procurement of beds and mattresses has mainly been due to requests for extension of the delivery periods by suppliers who are also affected by market dynamics. The delay in the procurement of X-ray and laboratory equipment is due to limited fiscal space. Money. Under C, Madam Speaker, in the 2023 recruitment exercise, 2 more doctors will be recruited and deployed, and this will bring the total number of medical doctors at Lundazi District Hospital to 5. The House may wish to note that government through Ministry of Health will continue to prioritize the recruitment of medical doctors together with other health workers, not only for Lundazi District, but for all the public health facilities and countrywide. I'm sure you heard from the Minister of Finance announce the numbers last Friday. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Acting Minister of Health, the people of Lundazi are grateful for the information that you have just said, that you are going to deliver the beds soon, or maybe you are in the process. However, Honorable Minister, there's a difference which is there between Lundazi District Hospital and the old Lundazi Hospital. This hospital is an abandoned place. We have the buildings, but it is not operating. The people are moving, going 6 kilometers to the new hospital because the old hospital is not operating fully. Honorable Minister, universal health coverage requires that the facility should be accessed in the nearest place that can be available. In this case, our people in Lundazi, Honorable Minister, are not accessing the medical facilities, which is just next to their doorsteps. What measures are you going to put interim to ensure that that hospital is operational? I submit.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And indeed, thank you very much to Honorable Member of Parliament for Lundazi. This one needs a little more detail. And as Acting Minister of Health, I might not be privy to the details of how or what measures, immediate measures will be put in place. But suffice to say, this government is committed to universal coverage, health coverage, and as such, all will be done to ensure that some of these services are provided in order for the community nearby to access the health facilities at the old Lundazi District Hospital. I thank you.
Thank you. Where are the whips? We don't have the quorum. Can we ring the bell?
Thank you for still watching Parliament Television. The quorum has collapsed. It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present in the House for business to be transacted on the floor of the House. And under consideration are questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. And question number 64 that came from Ms. Brenda Nyirenda and was directed to the Minister of Health was being considered on the floor of the House. And the Acting Minister was responding to this question. Matima.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister, did you finish with the response? Yes. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through engagement with your office, Acting Minister, last month you had indicated that you had bought the X-ray machine for the hospital. The people of Lundazi would want to know, when are you delivering? I don't think it's about procuring the X-ray machine. When is your office going to deliver the X-ray machine to the hospital? I submit.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thanks very much, Honorable Member for Lundazi. As the X-ray machine is already procured, I can assure the Honorable Member of Parliament for Lundazi that it will be done in the shortest time possible. And the maximum I can give is maybe a month or so from now. Thank you.
Thank you. Presentation of Private Members' Bill. The Honorable Member for Kanchivia.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 113 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, with leave of the House, I beg to move that the bill be withdrawn to allow for further consultations with the Ministry. I submit.
Is it your will that the bill be withdrawn? Any objection? I see none. Bill has been withdrawn. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
Supply motion of 29th September 2023, resumption of debate.
Order. When the House adjourned on Friday, 29th September 2023, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Katuba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for once again giving the people of Katuba to be the first ones to debate. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you most sincerely for giving me and the people of Katuba this rare opportunity to be the first ones to debate the motion of supply, which was ably moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane. MP on Friday, 29th September 2023. Madam Speaker, in the first instance, allow me to comment on the theme of the budget, which was unlocking economic potential. The theme recognizes that Zambia has massive potential for economic growth. As such, the budget policy statement endeavors to create an enabling environment through policy, resource allocation, and incentives to unlock the potential in various sectors in the country. In my debate, Madam Speaker, I will focus on 4 sectors only. Number 1, tourism. Madam Speaker, as the House may be aware, Zambia stands out of the prime tourism destination in offering prime endowments of the country to the entire African region and the world, a wealth of natural tourism resources and assets such as wildlife protection, areas occupying about 32% of the country's total land mass. In this regard, the tourism sector has the potential to contribute to the country's economic potential, but the sector faces several impediments and challenges, such as underdevelopment of tourism-related infrastructure, limited tourism products offering range and scope, inadequate tourism promotion and marketing, and low participation by locals in direct and indirect tourism development. Madam Speaker, it is important that necessary resources are allocated to the tourism sector to address the challenges that impede the tourism sector. And to this effect, we saw the budget providing these resources. I am therefore happy to note that the government has increased allocation to the sector from 666.3 million kwacha in 2023 to 769.5 million kwacha in 2024. This, Madam Speaker, represents 110% increase in terms of resource allocation. In 2023 already, we have seen an increase in international tourist arrivals that have grown from 454,000 in the first half of 2022 to 605,650 in the corresponding period of 2023. In addition, the government, in partnership with the Public Service Microfinance Company, in August 2023, launched the Public Service Domestic Tourism Scheme to boost the tourism sector. This scheme will allow the public service workers to access loans for local tourism purposes and development in order to ensure that domestic tourism thrives. I am happy to note that the government intends to work on mechanisms to extend this loan scheme to private sector so that the participation could be broader. Madam Speaker, I have no doubt in my mind that these initiatives, which are as a result of deliberate policy and investment in the sector, will yield positive results for the sector to grow and contribute to the growth of the GDP. Madam Speaker, for the period, almost a decade that I spent in this sector, we have never seen such unprecedented allocation of resources to tourism development, tourism marketing, and tourism promotion. It shows the commitment by the New Dawn government that they want this sector to grow and contributing to the growth of the economy, as well as to diversify from the much depended on copper to ensure that tourism continues to grow as well. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I want to contribute to the issue of Constituency Development Fund. Madam Speaker, I need to emphasize that the increase in CDF, both in quantum of allocation and scope, is a game changer for many constituencies, especially for some of us who have constituencies in the rural areas. Let me focus on the education and health sector of the CDF component.